bringing you Sports on the Hill podcast, True Radio Network, coming to you live, as I say, Martinis, 725 KD Drive, Fort Washington, Maryland. If you're not going to the game, you need to come on down here. We get ready to start our live broadcast, pregame, and we're doing the postgame. Come on down, good food, good drinks. Place is empty right now. Folks about to start coming in fresh off of work. But you know how it is. 7 o'clock Monday night, we coming to bring you the best DC sports around. Better yet, not just DC sports, sports in general, because that's just what we do. As always, I would like to thank you, the listeners, the fans, the contributors, the folks that troll us, the folks that question our knowledge, the folks that's telling us we don't know what we're talking about. I want to thank all of you for making Sports on the Hill podcast what it is. We gained another 12 likes on our page. We've got a lot of great engagement. Had over 30,000 folks coming through our page in the last couple of weeks with some of the stuff that we've been posting. So we see that you've been watching and y'all get tired of all of this other type of DC sports media out there. And you like the real news, the real knowledge, and the real insight that we're bringing you, as always, on Sports on the Hill podcast on True Radio Network. We got a full show for you tonight. It's going to be a little bit shorter because, as I mentioned, we got a Monday Night Football, Redskins versus Bears, starting about 8:30, I believe. So we're going to get off a little bit earlier today, but we're going to definitely talk some Nats. Want to talk about the Mystics. Unfortunately, they took a loss to Las Vegas last night. We were hoping for the sweep, but unfortunately, Vegas played a hell of a game and found a way to defeat the Mystics on the road. They're looking to clinch the semifinals, make it to the finals round, which when and if they do, we will be covering that. I will be down at the Entertainment and Sports Complex for the WNBA finals this year. Unfortunately, I didn't make it last year. It will not happen again because I will be down there this year. Then we're going to talk a little DC sports news. Robbie going to talk about some things that just been happening over the last week and currently today. He has some breaking news. And then we're going to talk Redskins up until kickoff. What's going on, Brittany? I see you already saying we're going to need a lot of drinks to deal with Jay. Yeah, we're going to get into that when we get into that. We have that segment. That's going to be around 7:45. So we're going to get through baseball, some WNBA, and some DC sports news. And as always, since we do have such a talented squad on Team SportsOTHP, we already got Brian Brenner on the line. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, anything, call in on the True Radio hotline, 347-884-9299, or you can chime in on the Facebook Live feed as Brittany has already. But let me go ahead and bring Brian in tonight. Brian, how you doing tonight, good sir?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about those Giants with the move they made with starting the rookie quarterback and the spark that he gave them, which I kind of said that would happen in the pregame yesterday when I broke down the games. I did pick the Giants to win. I didn't think I was going to be right, but, Daniel Jones did his thing, and we'll definitely be talking about him next week. But we'll be talking about the Bears this week. But before we go there, let's go ahead and talk some baseball. Let's talk about your Yankees before we talk about the Nats who's still fighting for their wild card life since you guys have already clinched and got y'all magic number down to 0.
Yeah, obviously I'm pretty stoked the Yankees are AL East champ. We clinched the division on Thursday night against the Angels, and it was just an awesome celebration for the team. And what's really been an incredible season, the Yankees have dealt with so many injuries. They've had 29 players on the injured list this season, which is a major league record. And just the way they've overcome it, and now they're AL East champs and have over 100 wins, 102 to be exact now. I honestly could not be prouder of the Yankees fan. I'm extremely proud of the team. Hopefully their success continues into October.
All right, that's enough for Yankees love on the air, man. What else is going on in the AL? So what else is going on in the AL? How close is the wild card race and the other divisions over there in the AL? I don't really pay attention to the AL. I'm an NL guy. So what's going on in the AL?
Well, so the AL West, like I said, the Yankees won that. They clinched their division, and the AL West is also already clinched with Houston leading the way for home field advantage in the AL East with a half game lead over the Yankees. The AL Central is pretty much decided at this point. Minnesota has a 4-game lead over Cleveland. Their magic number is 3. They're looking good to win the division title. Minnesota Twins. And then the wild card is down to 3 teams. Oakland has a 2-game lead for the first wild card spot, so more than likely Oakland is getting in. It's down to Cleveland, who the Nationals play this upcoming weekend at National Park, and Tampa Bay, who the Yankees actually play tomorrow and Wednesday. So they are currently tied for the last wild card spot. One of them is going to make it. One of them is going home. There's potential for also a 1-game playoff to get into the 1-game playoff. The AL wild card is just as crazy as the NL wild card right now, and it's just exciting to see it. Why they added the second wild card spot. Great for baseball.
Yeah, it definitely makes things more competitive. You know, the Nationals are sitting in first wild card position. I believe they still have a game lead, but they have a 5-game series versus the Phillies this week, which is kind of odd. But I know some of those are makeup games. But I'm not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and recap the weekend review where the Nats went 3-3 for the 3rd week in a row. They just can't get a constant winning streak going like we saw early in the season. We still had some issues with the bullpen, and actually the offense has been kind of absent lately. So these guys, they need to get it into gear because it's about that time. It's the last week of baseball season for regular season, and they got to take care of business. Last week they faced St. Louis for 3 and Miami for 3. They lost 2 out of 3 to St. Louis, who's also in the wild card chase. The first game was a 4-2 loss. Strasburg started that game. Unfortunately, he got a no decision because Sean Doolittle ended up taking the loss. He went 2/3 of an inning, giving a 1-earned run with 2 strikeouts and a walk. Rendon had a solo home run in the top of the 6th, and Victor Robles had an RBI single in the top of the 4th to account for the 2 runs for the Nats. Game 2 was a 6-2 victory when they had Patrick Corbin taking the mound. He won that game. That improves his record to 13-7. He lasted 6 innings, giving up 5 hits, no earned runs, even though 2 runs were scored on the air, with 11 strikeouts and 4 walks. Daniel Hudson earned his 2nd save of the season, going 2 innings, giving up 1 hit, no earned runs, with 2 strikeouts and no walks. Cabrera had a sacrifice fly in the top of the 2nd. Howie Kendrick had a solo home run in the top of the 4th. Robles had an RBI single in the 6th and the 8th, and Juan Soto had a sacrifice fly in the top of the 9th. And Gomes had an RBI double in the 8th to account for all 6 of the Nats runs. And the last game of the series was a hell of a pitcher matchup between Adam Wainwright and Mad Max. Unfortunately, the Nats came out on the short end of it, ended up losing that game 5-1. Mad Max dropped to 10-7. He went 6 2/3 innings, giving up 7 hits, 5 earned runs with 11 strikeouts and no walks. The Nats were only able to muster 1 run against Wainwright. He had them guessing the whole game. I actually watched that game, and, yeah, he was pitching out of his mind. The Nats couldn't get anything going. Only run that the Nats scored was an RBI double by Trey Turner in the top of the 7th. That pretty much wrapped up that 3-game series. Brian, did you catch any of that series or anything, or you've been just enjoying the Yankees clinching hangover?
Yeah, I've been enjoying the Yankee hangover. Yeah, this is a potential playoff series, obviously, for the Nationals. I mean, this is a playoff team. The Cardinals, they already clinched the playoff berth. So, yeah, this is a good test to see where they stand right before the end of the season. And it's tough that Scherzer lost that last game. Tough pitching duel with another great pitcher in Adam Wainwright. That's obviously a tough loss for the Nats. But St. Louis definitely helped the Nationals out big time this past weekend by sweeping the Cubs as well, and really putting some distance between the Nationals, the Brewers, and everyone else in the NL.
Yeah, it's still not a walk in the park, though, because as I mentioned, they got 5 against Philly, and you mentioned 3 against Cleveland, who's fighting for their playoff life also. So it's nothing going to be a cakewalk. And hopefully the Nats can get it together because, like I said, it's the last week of the season. Then we can finish up the last 3-game series they had against Miami, who they've pretty much owned this season. I think Miami may have won 1 or 2 games of the 19 that they've played. They actually won 1 out of these 3 because the Nats had swept them, I believe, the last 2 times they faced them. And Strasburg has that incredible winning streak against them. The first game of the series was a 6-4 win by the Nats. Anibal Sanchez took the mound. He won that game, putting him at 10-8 for the year. And remember, he started out 0-6. So, 10-8 doesn't look that good, but thinking about coming from 0-6 to where he is now, and he's been pitching pretty well of late. The last 2 starts, including this one, he gave up 6 hits in 5 innings with 3 earned runs, which is not what he was doing before. But later on in the season, you know how it is. He just got to get his control back under control, and then he'll be good. Daniel Hudson earned his 3rd save, going 2 innings again, giving up 3 hits, no earned runs, with no strikeouts or walks. Trey Turner, in the game, he had 2 solo home runs at the top of the 3rd and the 7th. Victor Robles had an RBA single in the 6th, and Cabrera had a 3-run home run in the top of the 4th to account for all the Nats runs. The second game of the series was a 10-4 extra innings win. Strasburg took the mound looking to get his 18th win of the season for the second time, and unfortunately, because of Wander Swirl sighting and giving up late runs, that would enable Miami to tie the game in the 4th extra innings. But the Nats were able to put up 6 runs in the top of the 10th to win this game 10-4. As I mentioned, Swirl, who cost Strasburg the victory, ended up earning a victory. He that improved his record to 6-8. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits, no earned runs, no strikeouts or walks. Strasburg started the scoring out with an RBI single in the top of the 2nd. Cabrera had an RBI single in the 5th. Robles had an RBI single in the 8th. Gomes had a fielder's choice RBI in the 8th. Then, as I mentioned, Miami were able to tie it up in the bottom of the 9th. And then at the top of the 10th, Brian Dozier had an RBI single. Adam Eaton had an RBI single. Juan Soto walked with the bases loaded, and Kurt Suzuki had a 3-run RBI double to bust the game wide open and pretty much end it for Miami. Final score 10-4. And the last game of the series, which was yesterday, was a 5-3 loss, and Wander Swirl took the loss again, which puts him at 6-9. He went 1/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, 2 earned runs with a strikeout and a walk. Rendon had an RBI single in the 1st. Dozier had a fielder's choice RBI in the 4th. And the pitcher, Austin Voth, had an RBI single in the 5th to account for all the Nats runs. I didn't watch that game. I guess Voth was in there as a pinch hitter. It's cool to see that he got an RBI. Maybe he'll be in the bullpen for the postseason if they make it. But like I say, recapping, going into the week ahead, they have a 5-game series against Philly, which starts tonight, which they probably already first pitched. We'll see if we can get the game on somewhere down here, on one of these TVs down here, Martinis. I know they want the football on, but we got to have baseball on because it's almost that playoff time. First pitch was at 7:05 tonight. Tomorrow it's a 1:05 start. Wednesday is a 7:05 start. Thursday is a 7:05 start. And Friday is a 4:05 start. And then as Brian mentioned, the last 3 games of the season for the Nats are versus Cleveland. That would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Saturday start at 7, Sunday start at 4, and Monday start at 3:05. So hopefully the Nats can clinch the wild card and get that number 1 position and face whoever it is in the tiebreaker and get into the first round and hopefully make it to the second round. Robbie, is that you on the line there? You ready to talk some baseball too? You there, Robbie? You there? Oh, we must have lost Robbie. Well, I guess we can go ahead and transition. Is there anything else you want to get into about some baseball, any news or notes, anything that's relevant that has crossed your baseball news notepad this week?
The 5-game series, there's barely a 5-game series in baseball, and it's interesting to see it gets one of their biggest rivals with the playoffs. The playoffs not on the line, really. So Philly's last chance. So we'll get to see how that goes. And then the big series this weekend against Cleveland. It'll be interesting to see how it goes for both the Indians and the Nationals. I want to give a shout out to my friend Josh, who's an Indians and a Nationals fan. He's from Cleveland, but he moved here. So he loves the Nationals too, but he's an Indians fan at heart. So I want to give a shout out to him. He's probably going to watch the games in that series. But yeah, that's very exciting to see how it goes.
No doubt, no doubt.
Before I let Brendan go, I I wanted to jump in. Hi, it's Robbie. And I wanted to ask Brian Brennan, since he's a big soccer fan, if he followed any of the DC United, the big victory from this past weekend. No, I actually didn't. Sorry. You didn't catch it. Okay. I just wanted to double check. Okay, I'll put it in the news and notes section.
Didn't you hear him say he was still enjoying a Yankees hangover?
I figured I'd ask you if you did watch it.
Didn't you hear him say he was still enjoying a Yankees hangover, man? He was still enjoying a hangover from clinching.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, he's a Yankees fan, and he does cover the Nationals a little bit, but we'll definitely we'll cover the 2-0 victory in just a few minutes in news and notes. So I just want to jump in for a second, but I'll let Carol get into the Mystics talk.
Yeah, we can talk about the Mystics. Unfortunately, they were going for the sweep. Connecticut actually defeated LA to complete their sweep, so they're waiting for the winner of the Vegas Mystics semifinal round. First game of the series, in case you haven't been paying attention, the Mystics won at home 97-95. Game 2, they won 103-91, and Game 3 in Vegas yesterday, which is a 5 o'clock tip-off, they got beat bad. Well, I ain't gonna say bad. It got to a 20-point stretch at one point, but they ended up losing 92-75. It was just a bad shooting night the first 2 games. Their field goal percentage wasn't lower than 45%. The three-point was no lower than 38%. But they had been getting out-rebounded in both games. In this game, they got out-rebounded by 12. And the other thing from the first 2 games, they only had 6 turnovers in each game. In Game 3, they had 13 turnovers total. So in the first 2 games, they had 12 combined. In one game, they had 13. Elena Deladon led the scoring with 22 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 4 blocks. Christy Tolliver had an off shooting night, but she had 14 with 1 rebound and no assists. So that's a telling stat because normally when the team wins, she has at least 4 to 6 assists per game because her outside game is so good. They close out and leave somebody else wide open. For the night, they shot 39% from the field. They only shot 33% from the three-point line. They had 21 assists on 27 shots made. Hopefully they can regroup. They basically had some garbage times. They were down so much. So you saw Deladonna and Tolliver sitting on the bench talking things over. So hopefully they done figure some things out because, the Vegas crowd going to be pumped, trying to tie the series up to force Game 5. Hopefully the Mystics can close out and get back to the entertainment and sports complex for Game 1 of the WNBA Finals and hopefully not Game 5 of the semifinals. But be sure to check out Game 4, which will be tomorrow night, I believe 8:30 on ESPN2, just like the other games were. So I'll definitely be checking that out. Hopefully you will too, and hopefully we'll be rooting on the Mystics to get to the WNBA Finals and hopefully bring home a championship. And before we get into DC news and notes with Robbie, give a quick heads up on programming on Wednesday. Hertz House will be down here, Martinis Live, doing his show, streaming live, and I'll be down here. Haven't been on Hertz House in a while, but me and Hurt going to sit down here, chop it up, talk all things Redskins after this Monday night football game, which we're going to break down a little bit later on after Robbie gets into the news and notes. So, Robbie, you can take your time because, unfortunately, our fantasy football guest is stuck in traffic. We know how the DMV traffic is. So we'll definitely have him on next week and probably have him on the post game and introduce you guys to one of our new Sports on the Hill, Team Sports on the Hill folks we got with more knowledge and insight for you fantasy football fans that, looking for that key information to help you win your league this year. I haven't played in a while. I've been too busy. I forget to set my roster, and then it's all, how that goes. But hopefully we'll get some fantasy football coverage for you guys next week and maybe even after the show. And, Robbie, let's go ahead and get into the DC news and notes before we start talking about some other things football-related.
Sounds good. Well, I just wanted to make sure, Brian, did you still want to stay on the line, or did we have to let you go? Well, I'll just stay on it. I'm sorry. I messed up. I missed that. What did you say? I just said I'll stay on it for now, if that's all right. Okay, cool. We'll throw you into the listeners line. Thank you for all the baseball talk. All right, sounds good. This is episode 163, right? Yeah, so that's cool. All right, so news and notes. I assume, Carol, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, you good to go.
Okay, sounds good. I just want to let people know that I'm streaming over now live on twitch.tv / RobbieG SportsOTHP. And a simpler way to do it is I just made a bit.ly right here on the spot. bit.ly / RobbieG_Twitch. So that's how you can catch me. We're live on there right now. If people want to check us out, so that way you can see Carol's point of view with the Facebook Live, we can do it on Twitch on my perspective. But anyway, the news and notes. Washington six-star forward Elena Deladon is your WNBA League MVP. She was the MVP AP last week, if you were paying attention. She's the first player in league history to win MVP with multiple teams. She's the only WNBA player to now join the players in the 50-40-90 club, which 50 is your field goal percentage, 40 is your three-point shooting, and 90 is your free throw shooting. A couple of male NBA players have done this feat before. No WNBA player has before this season. So congratulations to her for those two big things. So it's nice to have an MVP in Washington. And then continuing the topic of the Washington area female athletes with news this week. Congratulations to Haley Scrupa, Olympic U.S. gold medal winning. She's from Rockville, Maryland. She's also a Sports on the Hill podcast contributor. And so I appreciate all that she's done for our podcast. She's been named to a new Capitals position of hockey ambassador, where she's going to work with the Capitals to have basically increase the youth in the area. There's a huge influx of almost 250% since Ovechkin joined the area. And so it's really exciting to have her kind of take this youth movement and help those boys and girls thrive in this area. And they were going to work with the Capitals, trying to bring more ice time in certain rinks and do a whole lot of different things for the youth movement in the area. And she's going to be in charge of that. So we hope to have her on to talk more about this hockey ambassador role on a future podcast. I was just texting with her earlier today, and she would like to come on and talk about that. So stay tuned for that on a future episode. Continuing our notes about hockey, Ovechkin won a really prestigious, or is going to be in the process of winning a prestigious award this week. He will be honored as the recipient of the Wayne Gretzky International Award as part of U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame induction on December the 12th. So the institution announced it this past Wednesday. So it's a very prestigious award, and obviously we here at Sports on the Hill podcast have always said Ovechkin is fantastic, and I'm excited that he will win that award. We'll definitely cover more of that as we get closer to December the 12th. I just wanted to put it in the news and notes. If you want to read more about either of those, Haley Scrupa or the news and notes about Alex Ovechkin, make sure you check out Facebook.com/SportsOTHP or search Sports on the Hill podcast on Facebook. We have the entire articles, all the write-ups and all of that stuff. It's been getting a lot of traction in a bunch of Facebook groups. So we appreciate all the likes and loves for all that. So definitely check that out. And Carol, do you have any other news and notes before I go into the scoring summary from the 3 pregame games this week?
No, we can go ahead and get into some preseason hockey since we got a little time to kill with the fantasy football guy. I'm waiting on DujunneaB to call in. So, yeah, we can go ahead and rock and roll with some preseason hockey. It's just about that time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited. We'll definitely be talking more hockey as the season goes on in October. We'll definitely bring back Anna Kay and all of our entire team. And we've got a round table and people who love to talk hockey. And if you're in a hockey group and want to talk with us when we get to the segments, usually it's around 7 o'clock when the hockey season starts. Time will be determined depending on obviously the Nationals and the playoffs. But I look forward to definitely covering a ton more hockey. I wanted to go through the 3 games that were this past week, and we can also talk about just sort of some of the players in general. I don't know, Carol, did you get to watch any of the 3 games?
I saw 2 of the 3. I think I saw the Carolina game, and what was that? I think I saw a little bit of the game before that. I can't remember who they played, but I didn't see that.
Game, and then there was a Blues game.
Yeah, I saw the Blues. I didn't see the comeback against the Blackhawks, but I saw the Blues game, and I fell asleep at the end of the Blues game, so I didn't see the comeback on there. I woke up at the last second to see the crazy ending of that one, and I watched some of the last game with those younger guys was out there skating aggressive, and I like what I saw from those young guys. But I'll go ahead and let you get into the scoring from all 3 before we talk about some of the things we've seen in this preseason hockey season so far.
Sounds good. All right, so the scoring goes as following. The Capitals open it with Damian Ryatt, his first goal of the preseason. It actually tied it up. Chicago scored first. We tied it. Chicago scored again, make it 2-1. Travis Boyd would tie it at about 7 minutes. So there was 3 goals in the first 7 minutes of the second period. And then just about a minute and a half later, Alexei Protas, a young protege, or young prospect rather, he scored his first goal, made it 3-2. Then Adam Boquist, I think it is, for the Blackhawks tied it 3-3. There was no scoring in the third. Tom Wilson had a great pass from that Alexei Protas guy, and and actually Peter Copley got this on it because Tom Wilson pretty much went the whole length of the ice, and he scored a beautiful OT winner to make 4-3. What were your thoughts on the OT winner when you saw it later?
I mean, it's still early, but you see the chemistry and you see some of the Capital skill coming through even in preseason hockey in the first game, and being the fact that they got a chance to actually rest this off season after being put out early in the playoffs. As I mentioned earlier, I got the Caps doing some things this year, so I'm liking what I'm seeing. From the first game, I didn't like them going down and having to come back, but it was the first game, and then they've been playing, faster hockey. They've been being more active, and you can see those guys hungry to get back to that pinnacle again.
Yeah, definitely. I was excited to see, obviously, the game winner from Tom Wilson. I think it's interesting. Tom Wilson stated that he will not play any more preseason games against the St. Louis Blues, which limits him because we have 2 preseason games this year against them, and it's the season opener. But there's been a little bit of bad blood over the last 2 or 3 seasons. He's been suspended a couple of different times because of hits in games with the Blues. And I think it's smart. Don't have a chance for a retaliatory thing. They don't want to do a retaliatory thing, make it happen in the first game of the regular season. The pressure's on the line. They'll be they're raising the cups, so obviously there are a lot more eyes on them. So I think they're less likely to do it in that sort of situation than maybe a preseason game. So seems to think that there's been bad luck with some bad calls in some of the into that position. So without having him playing, it fell to a different platoon, and so that's what's been happening in these preseason games. It's been different players each day because they're trying out different players, different lines, see what we've got in some of these younger players. So the scoring, once again, the opponent goes first. But then the Capitals are able to score a Radko Gudas goal. So, Carol, did you say you saw this goal? I didn't remember if you did.
The Gudas goal. I saw it was a nice drop pass. I think was that the one with the drop pass? Because I can't. I'm not in mid-season hockey form yet.
Yes, that's right. But I just thought I was more curious your overall feelings of somebody who's been a flyer for so long and a thorn in our side for so long to then be a goal scorer for us. It's been odd to see Matt Niskanen in a Flyers jersey. It's weird, that these two are now bizarre forms of themselves. It's very strange. Seems that they're seeing this oh yeah, he scored, but oh man, we hated him for so long.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with him.
It was a nice goal.
Yeah, I don't.
I like that we have a defender who can score goals. So that's
exactly.
obviously got some good upside there. But He's got that physical ruggedness that it doesn't always rely on a Tom Wilson. We were just talking about him. He's not playing in this game. Somebody else needs that physical role do that, so that's great. Unfortunately, an old Capital, ex-Capital, Zach Eberts, who I really like, I actually got to see the very first game of Zach's career as a Capital in Washington. He scored a power play of his own, 2-1. But then I really like Richard Panik, Panik. I gotta learn these names because B says them so differently than I think they should be said. So it's gonna take a little while. So I apologize if I butcher any of the names. But he scores a beautiful power play goal assisted by John Carlson and Nicholas Backstrom. Ties the game 2-2, and it's the power play goal towards the end of the game with about a minute left. And I think that the other team just sort of let a second, and the coach on the other team made some, I think, a bad play on who he put on the ice clearly, and the Capitals made them pay. Nicholas Backstrom proves the old adage that no puck on net is a bad puck on net. He throws it from the blue line, and it bounces a couple of times. It does a crazy hop, and it goes up and over the goal. You got to check it out if you haven't seen it, but it's definitely a great goal. It makes it so it doesn't go to overtime. Ovechkin gets the assist. Radko Gudas gets his second point of the game. He gets an assist. They end up winning 3-2 with 7 seconds left. And I mean, the despair and the look on their coach's face. I mean, it was priceless. But it was nice to see Nicholas Backstrom get the bouncing biscuit into the net, as they say. So, did you see that game at all, or any of those highlights?
Yeah, I definitely got a chance to check out some of that game. It was a fast-paced game. They was like they were saying, it wasn't that many hits because they were moving so fast, and it was just good to see the speed of the game and seeing the guys starting to get their legs and get ready for the regular season, which is right around the corner.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, the third game, I unfortunately didn't get to watch, but I'll go through the scoring with you. And I don't know these guys' names very well either, because it looks like this, when I saw the roster and saw there was a bunch of players I hadn't really known much about, is basically we give a lot of call-ups from different leagues opportunities to shine, and if they're good enough, they'll get to play another preseason game, and if they're good enough in that, as we get closer to the regular season, then they might make the team. We've got a bit of a salary cap crunch, so a couple of players that are veterans may not make the team initially for the night one roster, not because they're not good, but because we may need to shed some space. Now, Kuzi being suspended for the first 3 games gives us a little bit of cap room, I believe, for at least the first game and for the first weekend. But I believe by the end of the first weekend, you got to get cap right, even if Kuzi's going to not play in the second and third games. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So Brett Leeson scored the first goal at 6:44 in the first at 16. Brett Pinto scored Pino, I don't know. 2-0 for Washington. That same guy scored again on the power play to make it 3-0 for the Capitals. Carolina would make an effort at a comeback, scoring at 11:30 at 14:54. But that would be the end of the scoring for this game. So it was Brian Pinto guy, obviously was the player of the game. He obviously played well. I kind of wish I had seen more of that first period to make a better assessment of that. I know a bunch of players ended up going down the next day. I'm not even sure if he's still up with the team right now. I'm with Pierre, the fan season just starting. I haven't quite got my full stat mode yet, but I will definitely cover a lot more hockey as we get closer to the season. I wanted to ask Carol, do you know if DujunneaB has called in yet?
No, he hasn't called in yet, so we can chop up some more hockey.
Okay.
Get ready for the seasons.
Okay,
I know.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. But so overall, I think that it's been great for the start of the season. Obviously, to get a bunch of big wins. I mean, obviously, I know wins and losses don't matter, but comebacks are always good. Being able to be strong in your own zone and have low-scoring games, even in preseason, is good. It's a sign that our goaltending has been fantastic. There's a little bit of a barely controversy in the sense that there's a little bit of a debate of who should be our backup goalie. I think we also have to be careful and to be safe with this situation because with another hockey team coming up in the ranks in a year, we're going to have to protect some goalies. So, then we do with the Burton Holtby situation, since his contract is done at the end of this year, and who we end up protecting between, a platoon of goalies down in Hershey and up here. It's going to be interesting to see how that has an effect. I just wanted to let people know the 3 upcoming games, and then, Carol, I'll let you break down your overall thoughts on the preseason hockey so far. The 3 upcoming games are there's an 8:30 game at Chicago on Wednesday, September 25th, so this upcoming Wednesday. And then at St. Louis, so I told you there was 2 of them. That'll be on Friday, September 27th. That's an 8 o'clock game that we know that Tom Wilson won't be playing in. And then at Carolina, Sunday, September 29th, so just 2 days later, it's at 1:30 in the afternoon game. And then the first for the regular season will start on Wednesday, October 2nd. We'll obviously recap those 3 games and preview the St. Louis game as part of our coverage next week. We have a little bit of a longer show. But overall, I thought that the Capitals are playing pretty well. Obviously, we still have a couple of injuries and hangovers from last year. But the players that we've seen so far have done well. And it'll be interesting to see which one of these young guys is making the roster.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I'll definitely give more hockey insight next week. We got DujunneaB on the line, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to slip into our Redskins coverage. And appreciate y'all checking out our early preseason hockey coverage. We're going to bring you some of the best hockey coverage around during the season, so make sure y'all check us out. But now it's time for some Monday Night Football, and we got our sports journey writer and insider, DujunneaB Bland, on the line. We bring him on tonight. DujunneaB, what's going on, my brother?
How's it going, man?
Going pretty good. Been a crazy day, been a long day, but we down here at Martinis getting ready for this Monday Night Football game. They just got the TVs turned to the pregame stuff they got going on ESPN, so I'm checking out some of that. I just looked at the inactive list, and I see Colt McCoy, Jordan Reed, Quentin Dunbar, McKenzie, Wes Martin, Ty McGill, and Ross Kirschenbacher. I got it right, DujunneaB, if I've been practicing. So that's the inactive list for the game. We had a great discussion about the game last week. We're not going to chalk that up again because it's a new week, week 3. Everybody in the division has a victory now except for the Redskins. So we know about the Monday night issues with this team. We know about the issues with this team. What do you see going forward in this game tonight?
Well, it's one thing for certain. You got to start. I'm definitely going to put on the defensive side of the ball. And they just got to tighten up big time. That's from front to back. And they have to get pressure. I think we've talked about it ad nauseum. And that is required, with some kind of stuffing of scheming to get these guys free. The good thing is that their defense or offense is a sluggish one. So, and they've had their struggles as well. So, this should be a good game for the defense to get right. But they have to limit the running game. They allowed 6.3 yards per rush last week, and that's not good. And then they're going to have to do an excellent job of trying to get them off the field on third down, as they are darn near 64% on opponents' conversions on third down. So that's going to be important there. Those 2 things, if they can execute that, I think there's no question that they can win the ball game.
Well, it's definitely a possibility they could beat the Chicago team. Like I said, I'm not going to say they lucked up into a victory last week, but they, victory fell in their laps, I'll just say, last week. And they have been inconsistent, but I'm not sure how I feel about this game because I'm not sure what I'm going to see from this team because two weeks we've seen 2 different things. We've seen, 1 quarter of great football, then we've seen 1 half of good football, and then we've seen halves of what the hell is this. So I'm not sure, and along with the Monday Night Football thing, I'm always going to be a fan of my team. I'm always going to root for them to win, but like I said last week about the Dallas game, I don't know about this game because I'm not sure what play calling we're going to see. I'm not sure if they're going to stick with the run. I'm not sure if they're going to stay balanced. And as you said, the defense, I'm not sure which defense is going to show up. Is it going to show up that we saw in in flashes of week 3 in preseason that, running to the ball, swarming, hands up, deflections, interceptions, pressure, or are we going to see the same vanilla zone coverage 10 feet off the corners and, leaving Ryan Kerrigan and Montez Sweat on the left and right side the whole game? So I'm not sure what to expect. I'm hoping that they get it together and can put together 4 quarters of quality football on offense, defense, and special teams to win the game. I'm going to have to give a generic answer on that one, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to tell what we're going to see. It really is. Haven't really seen anything completely put together, but, I'm done with the balance aspect of it. Just do whatever you're going to do and do it well.
Pretty much.
That's the key. The whole thing is that there are a lot of offenses out here that are, they're doing different things. You saw a little bit of that last week with the jet sweeps and things like that, simulating the run and doing things to simulate the run and getting their playmakers the ball. Just do whatever you're going to do on offense. Just do it well. And they have to eliminate the penalties, especially on offense. Over the past, 2 weeks, they're, penalized 18 times for 140 yards, and 11 of those are on the offensive side of the ball. So, and they're whole different things of that nature. So, we know how that can stifle the drive and kill it before it's ever even gotten started. So, those things have to be cleaned up, and if they can do that, they definitely give themselves an opportunity to win this game. I mean, they've been able to put up points in the first 2 games. Again, if they had some help from the defense, they may have been able to squeak those games and win those games, or at least have what has looked a lot more respectable as far as what we see as the aesthetics to the eyes, what we see on the field. But it's a weird place to be, to really not really know exactly what you're going to get, especially with this being Monday night game where they're 2-15, I believe.
Yeah, that's a horrible record. I didn't know the exact number, and after hearing it, I was glad when I didn't know the exact number. But I spoke about yesterday a little bit. We mentioned it after the week 3 preseason game when Jordan Reed had the lingering effects from the concussion, and article came out, report came out yesterday that it might be, in his best interest to, walk away right now because with him having these concussion issues, that he might be in line for retirement. I spoke on it a little bit yesterday. Do you have any thoughts on that situation with Jordan?
Really at the end of the day, you don't want the best for Jordan and his health. It's his choice what he wants to do. If I continue to play and try to get back, then that's his personal choice. But I think he needs to do what's in the best interest of him and his health. And if there's anything no one's gonna blame him for that. He's had a lot of concussions, and we know those the types of things that brain injuries can cause. And definitely, he has kids, he has family, things like that. Just want what's best for him as far as living a healthy life after football. So, I support him if he decides to hang him up, and if he decides to play, then support him for doing that too. And, at the end of the day, it's his choice to make. So hopefully, he makes the right choice and is not pushed into doing anything that he's not, interested in doing.
Yeah, hopefully he can get it together. Hopefully he can get back right. And I don't know, that's a tough thing. He wants to play ball. He's still, 29, still has some good years left in him. But, like I said, you got to worry about life after football. It's going to definitely be interesting. Team is in a decent situation with the tight ends, having Vernon Davis, Sprinkle, and, I know they got a couple of tight ends, I believe, on the practice squad, at least one, I believe. I'm not sure. But that would definitely be a hit. But we've seen the team go stretches without him before, so it isn't like they aren't used to playing without him. So it is going to be a tough choice for him. And, that one hit has him out for, 4 weeks now. So it might be the best thing for him to walk away. Like I've always mentioned, I said it yesterday, when everybody says he's soft, like, yes, he was a quarterback going into college. He didn't transition to tight end until he got to college, so he was never used to getting hit by these safeties and linebackers that he's been getting hit by in the NFL that's, bigger than anybody he would have got hit by in college. So, yes, he is soft because he's not used to getting hit. He was a quarterback. So maybe it is the best thing for him. Normally I go into the keys of victory for the game, but they've been the same for the last 2 weeks, so I figured there's no reason to go. I'm going to hit you up and see what player are you looking to make a spark tonight on offense and defense?
Offense, I'm going to go with the unit, and I'm going to go with the offensive line. They protected well, but I'm asking to reduce these penalties. And some of they've been penalized at the most worst time that they can be penalized, and had stifled drives and stifled their ability to be able to score points due to those untimely penalties. If they can clean up the penalties and be a force and just do their job, I think a lot of things can go well tonight. It's one thing about an aggressive defense is you take advantage of their speed and their tenaciousness and wanting to get downhill. So you do things that kind of cause them to flood up, and you take advantage of their speed coming downhill and give them some misdirection in some of the passing game, the screen game, and even in the run game. So, as long as the offensive line can do their thing, I think everything else falls into place, and that's not being penalized. On the defensive side of the ball, I need more from the front seven, period. If those guys can be a force, guys like Montez Sweat, and get to play fast and not just be fast because he's overthinking everything, that will be a huge help to the secondary and prevent these big plays over the top, etc. And I want that front seven to get after it, be a force, and be a really disruptive force. And if they can do that, then everything else should fall into place. I mean, we've seen the Chicago Bears offense over the last 2 weeks. They struggled big time to move the ball, especially through the air. And once you hit Trubisky a few times, you might be able to cause him to be a check down Charlie throughout the game. So it's just a matter of them being a force that most feel that they can't be. And if that can be done, then and the offense line does their job, then you got a pretty good combination of defense formula to try to go out and win a ball game.
Yes, that's a great formula. We've talked about the formula over and over again. The question is, can this team actually go out there, execute and perform, and make that happen for 4 quarters? We've seen flashes, we've seen quarters, we've seen halves of good football, but unfortunately we haven't seen it on a consistent basis. The one thing that is consistent about this team is their inconsistency is always consistent. So, I mean, my folks to look out for on the offense, I'm hoping that Jay Gruden lets Adrian Peterson touch the ball for at least 20 times. Even if the game is tied, even if they're down 7, even if they're down 10, let that man get the ball at least 20 times to see that we all know he gets stronger the more carries he gets. And if you're only getting 2-3 yards in the first quarter or 2-3 yards in the second quarter, we've seen what happens to the Redskins defense in the second on them in the game. First half, giving up nothing. Second half, they get worn down, and then they give up a big gain or the other team gets some momentum going. I'm just hoping Jay uses that same philosophy that he sees week in, week out against our defense on the opposing defense. So I'm hoping Adrian Peterson has a good game. He gets at least 20 carries. And I'm going to hope that he can maybe eclipse the 100-yard mark if Jay stick with the run and they have an effective game plan to mix things up. On defense, you brought up the front 7. I'm calling out the linebacker core. I want to see some pressure. I want to see them guys on the offense, worried about where these guys are coming from. That's going to come down to the coaching with Minuski and Rob Ryan mixing it up and letting them line up in different places, which I hope we will finally see, because there's no reason to have all this talent and have them pieces in the same spot every single time, and the offense knows to send a running back to chip or a tight end on that side to negate the pressure. I want to see the linebacker core step up and make some things happen. I want to see a forced fumble. I want to see, batted balls for the DBs to get interception off of. We've seen solid coverage now. I want to see I want to see plays being made by some of these playmakers that we have on this team. That's what I want to see from the linebackers. The whole defense as a whole needs to step up, but I want to see more from these linebackers.
Yeah, definitely that. You need consistency. Cole Holcomb has probably been the only one that's been consistent. He's had some plays where he's dropped, but he's been the most consistent out of all the linebackers, and definitely want to see those guys play up to par for sure. Your run game point, I definitely would like to see that. I just don't want to see them. Jay has a problem with thinking that you have to run on first down every time, and it becomes a predictable run game. And I don't mind running the ball at all, but let it not be obvious, because obvious, if it is obvious, you don't have to run it on every first down. But when it becomes obvious and telegraphed, that's when they start shutting that run game down, and it doesn't even matter how many carries you get, because they know exactly what you're doing, because you're telegraphing your run game. So, yeah, it would be nice to see him get 20 touches, though, because that means they're able to wear down that defense, and not only that, they're able to control the clock a little bit too, especially in the second half, and kind of be able. That means they got the lead, and they're able to do that, and be able to kind of carry this thing right down to the wire, and keep that sluggish Bears offense off the field. So that would be nice.
No doubt. I'm not going to get to a Jay bashing session, because just going to touch on it a little bit. I put the article out yesterday. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but I'm pretty much done with the dude. I'm just I was watching the Cowboys game yesterday. I saw a couple of Redskins fans with questions about the Cowboys. They think they're going to run away with the division this year. And we mentioned I mentioned Kellen, what's his name? I forgot his last name. But the new offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, and how easy he's making it for Dak by using Dak's strengths, to the advantage. And Dak just look like he out there playing high school ball, pitching and catching. Do you think we will ever see that from a Jay Gruden offense, where, because we know Keenum is a good mobile quarterback. We saw Dak yesterday roll the pocket, bootlegs, don't be in the same spot. And we know these things, work for the offense and is an advantage, especially when you have an offensive line without Trent Williams and with older Donald Penn and transition and tackle to guard Eric Flowers. Do you anticipate seeing any of that this game, of rolling the pocket, trying to make it, a little bit easier for the offense instead of always the 5-step, 7-step, 3-step drops? He's back there, pressure gets there, he try to step up. Either he gets sacked or he hits the underneath man. I mean, we've seen this recipe over and over again. Do you think that we will finally see this, especially with the way we saw, as I say, yesterday with Dak doing it? You see Daniel Jones down in the Giants with their first victory, and we're definitely going to talk about that in the Redskins' record against rookie quarterbacks. That game has me scared now, DujunneaB. We're definitely going to talk about that. But do you anticipate, do we see any type of different spark in this offense this week?
I've said it before. I haven't really had too much of an issue with the offense. And like we talked about earlier, if whatever you're going to do, just execute it well. And the problem hasn't been so much. It has in the first game, it wasn't a lot of problem of them not being balanced in the run game, because that's what the defense dictated. And in the last game, there was a lot of things that they would have hit on and did hit on. But you got jabronis on the left side that are your experienced offensive linemen, one that's looking for a big contract, and they're getting holding penalties. They're getting beat badly, and that's a problem. And then when they have time to do something where you can move the pocket, and that's been maybe a play or two, they got penalties on that. Because the quarterback's rolling out, that changes the position. action, and all of a sudden, boom, the next thing you know, they're reaching an arm out and grabbing a guy. I all for mixing it up, and that's something that that definitely would help if they're going to roll the pocket to the left to the right with these boots and whatnot. But they've done some interesting things. They've done
You know what? I wouldn't do it up to it, but that's not got I told you I would.
Kevin O'Connell, they feel like what they're throwing up has been effective in that work. And they feel like that is a decent formula, but we've been. So, and unfortunately for this team, you're 2 weeks in and they really haven't had a lot of possession in either game. So we haven't really had an opportunity to see them dig into anything. So maybe tonight, another home game, crowd, not having that road noise to worry about, maybe you'll start seeing some of those things creep in to this offensive game plan. Because it sure would be nice, especially with the defense, once again, sort of like the Cowboys in the front seven with speed that can get downhill and really get after your quarterback, especially if he's a sitting duck. If you move the quarterback a little bit, they'll cause these guys to have to sit a little bit, and that might help slow down that pass rush significantly, especially if you're mixing in a couple of things with Chris Thompson and those draws and things like that. Those things will help slow down the defense. So, would I like to see that? Sure. Do I hate to see that? I don't know.
No one knows. No one. I don't even think Jay knows half the time. But it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. We talked about the first 5, and this team needing to be at least 2-3. So this is kind of a must-win game if they're going to try to salvage this season, because going 1-4 or 0-5 in the first 5, even though the schedule is a little lax in the second half, you've dug yourself in a deep hole, and we've seen that this team isn't built to come from behind in a game, let alone 4 or 5 games in the season.
Yeah, and again, we're kind of, it's funny, we're kind of basing things off of what we've seen from this team in previous years. We really don't know what this team really is. Could they be a team that potentially, because of the back half of their schedule, be able to make some plays and reel off a couple wins? Absolutely they could. But with that said, it's definitely an uphill battle. If they get behind 1-4, 1-5, something like that, but they've got to, when you start to see this thing play out, they've had a pretty rough schedule. This is the first team outside of their defense offensively that they actually have a shot defensively to get right. So, this is going to be interesting how this plays out in the next couple of weeks, because tonight is, to me, I say it's code red, but definitely if they don't get the win this tonight, they definitely have to have a win in the following week. But I think it's a must win tonight, if you ask me.
No, it's definitely a must win.
I agree. I think it's a code red as well. I haven't talked a lot, but I agree with a lot of the points you both have been making. But they have to win tonight. I mean, if they want any chance in this season, I don't see a way to start 0-3 and make the playoffs. And we've already talked about it. Jay Gruden's career as a Washington Redskins coach hinges on whether or not he can not only make a playoff game, but probably win a playoff game. So if 0-3 means you're not making the playoffs, then pretty much, if they don't get better than maybe more than one win, and not just for the one win over the Giants, if they lose to New England and they go 1-4, it's hard for me to believe they don't fire Gruden right there. But we'll see how it is. I know that they're trying to have a longer lead than they have in previous years, but
that leash turned into a noose. That leash turned into a noose after a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that's we got 15 minutes till kickoff. I thought it was 8:30, but I just got the alert to kickoff was in 15 minutes. So I guess we'll go ahead and get ready to wrap up this Redskins segment. We all made our predictions preseason on what we thought was going to happen in this game. DujunneaB, we talked about it. We've talked numbers. We've talked Jay Gruden. We've talked Monday Night Football. What do you have as the outcome of this game tonight?
Oh man, I honestly don't. But I think this is it's going to be a respectable game that they just end up coming up short, and I think it's going to be 1 or 2 point loss. It may come down to a missed field goal early in the game of some sort, but I just think they fall short tonight. But it's not going to be like week 1 and week 2 where it's like what in the world is going on here. I think they're going to battle, but I just don't think they're going to have enough. They're not going to have enough when it comes down to the end.
That's a very accurate assessment of a Redskins game. I'm not even sure what to expect. Like I say, until they get on the field, and then you're going to probably see one thing in one quarter and see something else in another. I'm just hoping for consistency. Do I think they can win? I think they can win this game if they have a solid game plan and can execute. So are they going to win? I don't know. I can't even call it. Robbie, what do you say?
Well, sadly, because I'm a diehard Redskins fan, I am going to say that the Bears, who are a playoff team a year ago, and I don't think we were nearly as good. Now, I don't think the Bears are quite as good as they were a year ago, but I'm not sure that we're good enough to match them. We just have such a bad history on Monday Night Football. It's hard to pick the Redskins